Okay, good morning. My name is Brenda Rogers. I'm with the Office of Communications and Technology Services, and I am the field support rep for the Northeast District. And I will be giving the presentation this morning along with a co-presenter, Marcy Simpson, who I believe all of you know, of course. And she is here on my backside upstairs, and anytime that she needs, she's just going to jump in and throw in her comments, because she is actually going through this process as well and has been my person to go to for understanding your requirements and the needs and the flow. So she's an integral part here, so she's just going to jump in whenever she has comments. And if you have questions, what we'd like you to do is send them to Marcy in the chat area, and Marcy's going to collect all the questions, and then at the end we're going to go back and try to address them so that we can have an easier flow to our program rather than stopping and starting. So if you'll do that, if any questions you have, just chat in the chat box there to your bottom left. Just select Marcy's name and send them directly to her, or you can send them to the main room. That's fine too. She'll gather them up and we'll answer them towards the end of the presentation. So let me go ahead and thank some of the people that were contacted and Marcy communicated with to get some information about how they have done their dossiers in the past. And that would be Jeff Buckley, who gave us some materials, and you'll see a slide that he has done for his supporting materials. Angela Rao, who is with my unit, the Office of Communications Technology Services. She contributed to some of the scanning part there and the settings. Joanne Millam from Washington County, we also hit her dossier up because she had a nice format. And I have one screenshot of hers, and hers was done prior to a lot of the requirements. So I'll touch on that when I show her screenshot, but I like her neatness and layout there. And of course, if I already mentioned Marcy Simpson, and Lauren Dye from Elbert County, she was asked some questions about how she did hers as well. So those are some of the contributors. So if anybody has any technical problems, if you can communicate directly with Marcy, and she'll try to assist you when you need, and she can communicate with you off the chat room there. So let's move forward. This is the Public Service Dossier PDF development tips. Now there is a session that's going to happen on the 18th that is not related to what we're doing at all today, as in we're looking at more from the computer standpoint, organizing your files. All that they'll be discussing on the 18th will be probably related to your packet that you are to refer to on how you're supposed to pull your material together, your accomplishments, etc. So we're looking at it from more the PC side of the world. That'll be more of the content side. So you definitely need to participate in that session on the 18th as well. This is being archived, so those of the people going up that are not here will be able to view it, and those of you that want to go back and look at things will be available for viewing as well. Marcy this morning sent you an email with the handout, so if you have printed that out, you can take notes alongside of that, and that'll help you as you go along and start creating your documents. So with all that said, let's go skip right over to the first objectives, and we'll talk about what we hope to accomplish. And I have noticed this morning there's been a little bit of a drag with WIMBA, so hopefully, things will happen okay here, but sometimes you might see something I might not see. Okay, our objectives today are to just do an overview of the documents required for the final dossier PDF. We are also going to throw in there the mini. We realize that the mini is required first, but this actual presentation overall is going to address the more accepted final PDF. And part of that is because as you're going along with this mini dossier, you somewhat need to know and understand what's going to be required from the accepted final PDF dossier. So in doing that, it will help you as you're creating this mini to get your data and stuff organized so that you're not scrambling once that mini is accepted to go along into the final accepted dossier. So what we're looking at here is really from the accepted dossier picture, But, of course, the mini dossier is a true component of that. So as we go along, I'll be referring to the file number 1 and file number 2, which is related to the accepted. But we're trying to get you to think about all the material as you're producing this mini dossier, because there's so many things that are tied into that final accepted dossier, okay? So we're going to also look at the overview of document processing management, and that's just, from saving things to store, file structures. Identify general software and hardware needs. Identify software technical skills that are going to require further independent investigation on your part. So you may have questions that you may need to do a little research on yourself. So, it could be as simple, going to the help feature within that application, or you actually may need to, do a Google search or go to the Adobe site itself or something of that nature. So that's what we're meaning there is don't rely on someone else always for the answer, as you could find it very easily and more readily, quickly in the help section. Because you have a very short time frame here to get a lot of stuff together. So we want to help you try to get your mindset going down a path and then have resources available for you when they're needed. We're going to provide some basic tips on PowerPoint and Publisher. We're going to provide basic instruction on how to use Adobe Acrobat, which for a lot of people is the big issue. We're going to look at merging multiple PDFs, moving pages, inserting pages, deleting pages, and saving, merged files. We're going to look at some best practices for scanning documents and photos. So those are some of the things we're going to cover. And the things that I'm going to immediately say to you that we're going to want you to remember. So in the beginning, I'm going to say this. I'm going to say this at the end. Organize and structure your files and folders. And we would like you to consider creating a working PDF for each section. And again, we're going back to the final PDF in all the various sections that are required. Now, for your mini, dossier, you don't have to have all of these sections right now. But if you're going to structure your materials and you're preparing them, go ahead and familiarize yourself with each section, and then you can start pulling in the materials that are going to relate to that section, and then you can create a PDF for each section. You will, absolutely will have to make edits. Now, whether those edits end up being after your mini dossier is accepted and you go into the final preparation for the final dossier, but regardless, you will have to make edits. Remember drag and drop, and I'm going to go into that a lot through this presentation, but that is a key. You can drag and drop files and have them be converted to a PDF from Word. It's so very simple. So we're going to show you that simple side. And then remember, save as. Save as, okay? Couple other things. Get to know your scanner, know your PC and software before you feel that crunch. And we want you to think of Acrobat as a printer, not a place where you pull stuff together and then you try to edit it, because that's just going to give you headaches and it's not going to flow smoothly and it's not going to work well. And then again, use the help feature in the software application. Okay? So let's look at what's required files for the accepted dossier. Okay? So for the required files, you're going to have, they want you to break it down. If you look here on the bottom left on the picture here, you look down here and you see that they want you to break this out into file 1 and file 2. So for file 1, the accepted dossier would have a table of contents. It would have a cover letter. It'll have a vita. It'll have a job description. And so your table of contents is going to be something that'll probably be created in Word or something. Your cover letter is probably going to be a PDF because it's going to be a scanned document. Your vita is going to be a Word doc that's going to be, converted. Your job description will be a Word doc that will be converted. So that's your content for file 1 for the accepted dossier. So now when we look at the mini dossier, there's going to be pieces of this that are going to be relevant. You're going to have for the mini dossier, you're going to have the vita and the job description out of this first section, okay? And there's a slide on that too. So for file 2, you're going to have a D1 and a D2 section. even though on this picture here, it says that there's sections D, D is really D1 and D2 because D1 is your accomplishment text, and your accomplishment text will go along with your mini dossier. But if your dossier is accepted, you will then have to produce D2, which will be your support materials, and your evaluation letters and forms and summaries. So you can see they're very tied together, and that's why we're presenting this from the accepted level so that we can get you lined up right in tune to move smoothly from your mini dossier right into your final accepted dossier materials. So let's look at what the true required files are for your mini dossier. You're going to need a cover page. You're going to need a table of contents that are specific just for your mini dossier. The table of contents that were for the required, that's going to be a whole different table of contents because now we have all this additional material like a cover letter, the D2, the E section, the F section. So for the mini dossier, you'll have a table of contents that's specific for just VITA, job description, and your accomplishment text. So as we go along with this, we want to show you, most of your information. So we go into file 1 and the format that it's going to come into. So your table of contents would be Word, and you're going to convert that into an Adobe Acrobat PDF file. This cover letter will probably be a scan to PDF file. This VITA was a Word doc, so you'll create that and then you'll change it to a PDF file. Your job description is a Word doc, so it will be changed to a PDF file. File number 2 of the accepted, same thing here, everything's going into PDF. So here we've got the D1 accomplishment text. That piece right there will go with your mini dossier. D2 support material is going to be either in PowerPoint or Publisher, and we're going to cover some tips on those. And those will then be converted to a PDF. Your forms and summaries could either be Word docs or hard copies from scans, and those will all go into PDF format. All right. So something that we suggest that you get your mind around is your folder structure. So Marcy, as I said, is going through this herself, and so she has come up with the fact that her folder structure is going to be based on those sections. And that's a very good way that you can organize your stuff and easily go back and identify each section and work on whatever section you need at whatever time without looking at this folder that has, dossier materials all in there all together and no sections or breakouts or uniquely identified, names. So what we've got here is a folder. Your primary folder is called Promotion 2012. And inside that folder, she has a section, which is the cover letter, a folder called B_Vita, a folder called C_job description, D1 accomplishments, D2 supporting materials, E evaluation letters, and F your forms and summaries. So create a folder structure so that you can save your materials in there. So we look at the next level inside this cover letter folder up here. She has a cover letter _boss PDF file there. Inside of her VITA, Marcy, and we're going to look at naming structures here in a second on our next slide, but she has decided for her VITA that she wants to have inside the VITA an archive folder. So when she works on her VITA, she pulls up Simpson VITA 2012.docx. But when she immediately opens the file and then she immediately saves a copy of that file in her archive and dates it that day. So if for some reason something happens to this working document right here, she can immediately go back to her archive folder and she can pull that archive out, do a save as, and name it back to, her working file name. But immediately she's got a copy to go back to. So you never, ever, ever want to work on a single copy of your VITA. Anytime you open that VITA to go for work on it, you should do a save as immediately and save a copy before you make any changes. That way you can go back to that copy and start fresh if you needed to. Same with her accomplishment text. She's decided to have an archive folder here, so that same format. She can work on her accomplishment text whenever she needs, but if anything ever happens to it or she needs to revert back, she has a dated accomplishment text here in her archive folder. So that saves her, that's a backup copy for her there. Her supporting materials, she's done somewhat the same thing. She has an archive folder, and she also has a folder called Scanned Support Materials, because some of your support materials will have to be scanned in, and then some of your support materials you'll be pulling pictures together and laying them out. So she has a folder structure there. Evaluation letters, she doesn't need archive folders, so she just has them living within that evaluation letters folder. Okay? So saving file versions. As I was saying, this is very, very critical because it can save you in the long run. So as I was explaining with Marcy, she names her VITA file with the year. Then prior to making any changes to this file, she will rename it with the date and save it in her VITA archive folder. Now, if you don't want to have an archive folder, that's fine, but you at least need to save a secondary copy of that VITA before you changes to that original VITA file. That's true for all of these files. It will save you time. If anything happens to that original document, it will save you time in the long run. Okay? Now, something that's very critical, page limit on Section D. Now, remember, Section D has two parts, D1 and D2. For your mini dossier, you are turning in D1, your accomplishment text. Now, this is important, and I'm pointing this out very distinctly because if you only have 30 pages for your D section, and if you're not thinking about the material that's going to go along with this accomplishment text, you may not have enough pages left for your supporting materials if your dossier gets accepted. So for the mini dossier, you don't want to use 25 pages of accomplishment text, and then you only have 5 pages for supporting materials. Unless, in fact, that is true. You really do only need 5 pages. So what we're asking is that or suggesting is, as you're creating this accomplishment text, go ahead and start pulling together your supporting materials. This will give you a good idea of how many pages you're going to need to allocate for each accomplishment. So if you've got 5 accomplishments that you're going to point out, you're going to at least, want to have, a page apiece for each accomplishment. So as you're pulling that accomplishment text together, remember, you only have 30 pages total for that D section. So as you are pulling the text together, like I said, you would probably, my suggestion would be in your D folder, in our folder structure that we were looking at, maybe in that D2 supporting material, you're going to have each accomplishment. So you'll have supporting material and whatever accomplishments you're pulling out. You worked with SIFAR, you worked with childhood obesity, you worked with, and I apologize, I'm not in your shoes, so I have a problem with identifying things. But if you have each accomplishment that you're going to point out, create a folder in this D2 supporting material. Then you can actually scan your materials or pull the specific materials right into each accomplishment folder so you can go back to those accomplishments and pull that out real quickly. Marcy has scanned support materials, which is fine too. But if you have everything in one folder, you're going to have to name them so that they're easily identifiable to that accomplishment. So that's what I'm saying on your supporting material. If you create a SIFAR folder, a childhood obesity folder, then you can put your supporting materials right in that folder. And then as you're working on your text, you can kind of get an idea of how many pages you're going to need for that support material. Okay? So this is key. Remember that it is critical that it's limited to 30 pages. Okay. Table of contents with the mini dossier. As I said, your table of contents is going to be specific to that mini dossier. So you'll probably want to create that table of contents in something like Word, which, you can do relatively simple. We're looking at it from the total accepted PDF here on table of contents. So when you're creating your table of contents for your final PDF, and even for the mini, I would base the table of contents on the sections. So sections, A, and then you would break your table of contents out for whatever it is. Section D1, the table of contents, you would have sub-listings under D1 for each accomplishment. And then D2, you would have the same thing, and those supporting materials for each accomplishment text. So your table of contents, our recommendation is that you base those table of contents on the actual sections and then break those sections down internal so that you can have a fuller table of contents. With regards to your notebook, in the past, as Marcy showed me hers, she used page divider tabs that correlate to the table of contents. So if your table of contents is correlating to your sections, then your page dividers can be easily, written out based on that table of contents. So you'd have a tab for each accomplishment text. You'd have a tab for the accomplishments supporting materials. So page dividers, that makes the notebook itself, the physical notebook, easy for these reviewers to flip right to sections. And granted, they're going to be looking at it on the PDF side, but it's awful nice if someone can pull out your notebook and quickly flip to your Vita or quickly flip to your accomplishment text. Create bookmarks in Acrobat. This is a very easy way to allow the reviewers to access the data in your final PDF very quickly and easily, and I'll cover the bookmarks here in a little bit. Table of contents using Word. There's a very good video on table of contents and creating it, and if anybody wants that, I'll be happy to send that link. Actually, because I created a hyperlink for it, you guys don't actually have that link. So if anybody actually truly wants to view that video, then send me an email and I'll send that to you specifically. Microsoft Help. If you go to your web browser and you type in office.microsoft.com, you will come to the Microsoft Office Suite page. And there is online training for the Microsoft Office Suite there, the full versions of Office Suite 2010. So if you need additional help or you're wondering how to do something in PowerPoint or Publisher, that's a good place to start. It's excellent. Okay, so now we're going to move into looking at some of the supporting materials, because it really is your D2 supporting materials where I think most of the issues come, because you're working with scanned documents in various formats and trying to pull all that stuff in together. So with supporting materials, you're going to have, papers, you're going to have things from your computer, you're going to have things from the newspaper, you're going to have things from, awards and achievements, you're going to have pictures. So what we recommend is that you use PowerPoint, which is my preference, or Publisher to manage your supporting materials. Once you get these materials in PowerPoint or Publisher, you're then going to convert to PDF at the end, okay? So again, this goes back to saving your files and having a good folder structure set up so that you know where these items are that you're going to be pulling in to create this supporting material, okay? So when you're scanning your supporting materials, we have a recommended scan settings. So if you're doing a black and white text only, then you're going to choose black and white at 300 dpi, okay? And we'll look at Acrobat. If you use Acrobat to pull your scans in, we'll look at Acrobat and show you, where to change that. If the document includes any pictures or grayscale graphics, scan at full color 150 dpi, okay? And here's our recommendation. Scan all your supporting materials as JPEG files. And unless you're actually scanning directly into PDF, you can do that, but then there'll be PDF files. And because of drag and drop, you can easily manipulate. But scanning things in as JPEGs allows you to do things like resize them. They're actually a little cleaner as far as the file goes from a technical standpoint. And they're easier to insert and move around and navigate, or move them and navigate them around. So we really suggest that you scan all your items as JPEGs. You got a letter, you scan it in, you're actually going to scan it in as a JPEG. Especially if it's going to be a supporting material, you're going to be able to size that easier than if you scan that thing in as a PDF. Okay? That's where knowing your scanner comes in. If you're not going to scan directly into Acrobat, then you probably have some scanning software, and there's probably preferences that you can change in that software that will allow you to change it to scan to JPEG. So that's what you want. Your cover letter and evaluation letters, those you can scan directly in as a PDF because you're not going to change their size. But things for supporting materials, you're going to want to put multiple on a page. So you're going to want to scan that in as a JPEG so you can resize it. So those things that you want full page, it has to be full page, you can scan it in directly as a PDF. Okay? Let's go next. So we're talking about folders, and I know we spent a lot of time on folders, but it's really important. So scan the items in by topic event, and by that I mean your accomplishment text. So if you have diabetes, wellness, and Survivor Kids Camp that you're going to pull out and identify as accomplishments, then you would create a folder for diabetes, wellness, and Survivor Kids Camp. And whenever you scan something in, you scan it and save it to those folders. Then we're going to use PowerPoint Photo Album, and I'll show you that, to pull these scanned items into PowerPoint, and it does some nice automatic formatting for you. So we're going to look at that. All right, so with that, let's go into our PowerPoint tips. So with PowerPoint, there's the main thing you need to do right away is you're going to change, because PowerPoint is landscape. It's always landscape. So you have to go into PowerPoint and change the page setup, and I'll show you where to go. You're also going to change the letter paper to 8.5 by 11. So that way when you are creating these pages, it will be the right page size. And when you go to print them, if you've chosen 8.5 by 14 and you're trying to print it on 8.5 by 11, you're obviously going to have issues. So you need to change your letter paper to 8.5 by 11. You're going to use the insert ribbon. There are features there like text box. And they can have borders. So text box you're going to use like on your supporting materials to maybe give text about what that supporting materials is related to. You can have pictures with borders. There's a table button that you can easily insert a table if you need it. There's screenshot, which captures a screenshot of any open window, shapes, and photo album. So we're going to cover some of those a little bit. We're going to look at merging multiple PowerPoints. We're going to look at guidelines to line up boxes and graphics, and micro moving a graphic. So if it's not lined up and you need it just moved up or down a little bit, that's a micro move. Okay? And this is the big one. If you walk away with nothing else from this presentation today, what I want you to remember is that you can drag a closed PowerPoint file into an open PDF, and it will automatically convert the PowerPoint to PDF and add those pages to exactly where your little cursor was when you drug it over there. So that's the big one. So you would have an open PDF document, and would be in the Pages view, and I'll tell you what Pages view is when we get to the Acrobat section. Oh, sorry about that. There would be an open PDF, and you'd be in the Pages view, and you're looking at a closed file, so you're looking at a folder, your accomplishment text for child awareness, or you drag that closed PowerPoint file over to that open PDF, and you let go, and it will automatically convert that PowerPoint, and it will insert it right there into that PDF. So you don't have to convert that PowerPoint to a PDF and then, quote, merge two separate PDF files. So again, That's drag and drop. So that's a big one. So PowerPoint, we're going to look at page setup. I mentioned that you must change your orientation to portrait so that when you print things out, it will be correct. So you're going to click on the ribbon, you're going to click Design tab, and then you're going to click Page Setup. And then this box here is going to come up. You're going to click Portrait, and you're going to click Letter Paper, and you click OK. And so you've just changed the orientation. You've just changed the orientation and the actual paper size there. All right. So your insert ribbon is something that you'll use when you're working with the PowerPoint, pulling in materials. And the text box, as I said, you use the text box to add text anywhere on a slide, and it can have borders. Your picture button, that's going to open a box so that you can select pictures to insert. Your table button, that's an easy way to insert a table on a slide. So if you needed a table in there to show some numbers, that's an easy way. It just drops a little grid down, and you can highlight and select how many rows and columns you want real quickly and easily. Screenshot gets a picture of any open window. So let's say you had something that you wanted to take a screenshot of. You've got something scanned that you only need a little section of it. So you can take that screenshot of that little page that's on your window and then paste it right over here into PowerPoint, and that will be on a slide. Shapes, arrows, and boxes. A lot of the arrows and boxes you see on this slide, that's what I've used, is shapes. So when you're creating your supporting materials, using arrows or boxes to give information, those are things that you're going to have there. Okay, and PowerPoint photo album. This is something I discovered as I was creating this training, and I think I personally, and again, these are just suggestions, that this is a tool that will be really valuable for you. And what this photo album does is allows you to select multiple items, multiple pictures. So again, if you've scanned your materials in as a JPEG, that's technically a picture. It's a JPEG file. So you can pick multiple JPEGs at one time, and you can tell it that you want it to have certain layout functionalities here. So let's look at the screen. What I've done here is I've chosen 4 pictures. See right here, the select here. That's my pictures. And right here is your button that you would click to navigate to select the pictures you want. So I selected 4. And so now I have an option to give it a caption. Right here's our caption. I could click that, and that will put a caption below all the pictures, so then I can edit and put my own little caption in there. All the pictures, if they're black and white, you can click that, and that will make them, black and white, so they'll scale correctly. Down here at the bottom, you can drop this little arrow down that says Picture Layout, and you can choose like 2 pictures with a title, 4 pictures with a title, 2 pictures no title. There's various options that you have. It works with 4 pictures per slide. That doesn't mean that after you've created this that you can't move more pictures onto that slide. This is just to get a bunch of pictures pulled into a PowerPoint and formatted the same. So it's saving you a great deal of time. The big thing is down here under frame shape, you can put different frames and borders around it. So that's the kind of stuff that will make your supporting materials stand out. So I've chosen some options. So then here's an example of what it came out. So I chose 4 pictures with a title and caption and a border. And so it automatically pulled those 4 pictures in, added the title that I wanted, put this nice little border around, and then I went in and changed the name of each caption and added the caption as to what it actually should be. So now that I've done that, and let's say you've done that for an accomplishment and you had 3 pages, you can quickly see how pulling this in with Photo Album, you will be able to format those 3 pages exactly the same. That can save you so much time. Because if you've had to go in here and right-click each one of these pictures and format and put a border around it, and then, you've got 3 pages to do that. That's a lot of time. So once you've pulled this in, what the photo album does is it creates an album PPT. So you can save that PPT, and then you can merge it with other PowerPoints, or, like I just said a minute ago, the big remember, you could take that PPT and drag it over into your D2 PDF section, and it will convert it automatically to PDF pages. So I got my D2 section for supporting materials, and I'm working on childhood wellness, and I've just created an album that had my childhood wellness supporting material JPEGs pulled in, and I created the album, and I had borders and everything, and I saved that PPT album as childhood wellness PPT. I then have my open D2 PDF, that's supporting materials. I would just drag that closed PPT file over to my open D2 supporting materials file, and it will pop it in there, and it will convert it, and it will look all pretty just like that. Now, if I needed to add a text box on here before I create and drag this over to my PowerPoint or another PDF, I can. You can, once you create this photo album, you can add other photos on top here. You can move these around so that they're in places you want them. You can add text boxes and the numbers that, are required for identification of your materials. So it's not static. That means you can still manipulate once you create that album. So from where I sit, and I'm not sitting where you're sitting, I see this photo album as being a really key tool in pulling together your JPEG supporting materials and easily having them formatted the same. And because if you've got 5 accomplishments you're highlighting, you could format each accomplishment different. Like this one has double borders. Maybe the next one has a single border, or maybe they don't have borders at all. So you can format each section how you want it, or format them all the same. But the photo album, to me, is a really nice, clean way for you to pull in this supporting materials, drag them around, move them, do whatever, add text boxes, and then correlate them back to your D1 accomplishment text. So the photo albums are really good there. So here's an example of Jeff Buckley's, one of his supporting materials pages, okay? And he did not use a photo album, okay, just so you know. Something that is required now are these numbers. So you need to have some type of reference for your supporting material. So what he did is he chose to have an item and then put a number, and then he put this text box. Well, he actually did this in Acrobat. But if you're in PowerPoint, you would create a text box, and then you would type in the text that would correlate with these numbers. There's probably other ways that you can do this, but you need to have identifiable numbers that will then correlate back to your accomplishment text. So that's once you create that photo album. See if Jeff had created his with photo album, he could have chosen not to have borders still, and he could move these around and have manipulated them, and then just add the numbers. The text boxes are numbers. So, I should reverse that. The numbers are text boxes, and so you just add a text box on top of that, and you type in the number, and then, like you said, the way he did it was he did it with this box that then correlates back. If you do numbers, that's something I don't know that there's strict definition in your materials as to how they truly want that, but this is one method. Now this is Joanne Millam's supporting materials, and Joanne, I turned hers in prior to, I think, the number requirement, but what she did here is she highlighted with hers. See, she's got nice borders, and I think Miss Joanne probably went in and put borders on those all on her own. So she had to click each one and do a border. Whereas, even though the photo album lets you only do 4 things to a page, as I said, if you pull it all in Photo Album, you can easily drag and drop these pictures from one slide to another and maneuver the slides around like you want. So I really like her layout. It's very nice. It's very clean. And the borders really make a big difference to me in the presentation of this. So definitely consider how you're going to reference your D2 supporting materials back to your D1 materials. And that may be given a little more specific information on that in your session the 18th. But another, Joanne's way of highlighting is a very nice method too. And all of this can be done. She did hers, I believe, in Publisher. But in PowerPoint, again, pulling all this stuff in first with the photo album, and then you can manipulate after that, to me is easier than pulling each one of these in one by one. That's a time killer there, when you can pull it all in as one and then start adding text boxes. Like all this information here, these are text boxes. Excuse me. Okay. So this is a visual drag and dropping files between two open PowerPoints, and that's easily done. So like you don't necessarily have to merge a PowerPoint. And with PowerPoint, what you'd want is you want both windows open. So you see I have, this window open here on the left, and then this other presentation sending your message to the masses on the right. If I wanted this slide, the first slide, over into my PowerPoint on the left, I simply click that slide and I drag it over to my PowerPoint on the left, and you will have one of those insert bars. So I can drag it to wherever I want. And just let go, and it will drop that slide right there. Now, with your slides, you're not going to have a theme because you want it all to be white. So just remember that. No themes. It's all going to be white. So you just drag it right over there. You don't have to worry about formatting the background, right, because it's going to be white. And you just drop. So if you have, you got a couple PowerPoints that you want to pull together into one, you can, or a couple slides from one to another, this is your simplest method, is to drag it and drop it over. Now, if you have a couple PowerPoints that you actually want to merge all the slides, then what you're going to want to do is on our ribbon in PowerPoint, there's a review button, and you click Compare, and you'll select the other PowerPoint for merging. So if you have both PowerPoints open, select that other PowerPoint to merge. Click the box to have all the slides inserted, and then you'll save that merged PowerPoint as another name. That's if you want to merge all the files together. If you only want to have slides from specific slides, then just do what I did in the previous one. You'll drag and drop. That's going to be your simplest. But remember, that's only if you just want to merge your PowerPoints. The drag and drop PowerPoint can be dragged over into an open PDF and automatically converted. I'm going to keep saying that over and over so it really drives home, because I think the merging, when we talk about merging, that terminology people get a little confused on. And if you guys know you can drag and drop, it will be helpful. So with PowerPoint, again, we go back out to the Microsoft Office PowerPoint site. So office.microsoft.com, and look for the Office Suite 2010, and then inside there you can actually choose PowerPoint or Publisher or whatever you need. Again, you can drag and drop between slides, between presentation, organize slides. This is something, sections, and you guys won't really need sections. Take this with you for an outside purpose, not for your dossier. If you have a really big presentation that you are doing, you can create your presentation and divide it into sections. And if anybody ever wants to know any more about that, email me, because I divided this PowerPoint into sections. And when you view it, through PowerPoint, it's a really nice way when you have a bunch of slides to be able to click into a section and view that section slides versus having to scroll through all the slides. That's different. You can merge. Just remember, you can merge presentations if you need. All right, Publisher. Publisher you're going to do the same. The portrait is default. Letter paper is default. So those two you don't have to change, where you do have to change that with PowerPoint so that your layouts will be correct. Your margins, you need to change if necessary. Let's see, margins. I believe I have something. You want to have your margins, I believe we said we're going with an inch all around, and if you're binding, there may be a little bit of an inch and a half. Marcy, you might know that one for sure. Keep margins easy to read. Suggest 1 inch all around and an inch and a half on the left. Yep, inch and a half on the left. And that would be because of binding, so that you don't get a binder right in the middle of a sentence. So inch and a half on left and an inch all around the other side. With Publisher, you'll start with a blank page versus a template so that we don't have any lines or anything. Unless you are a Publisher person, you may already know a template that you're going to use. Just like in PowerPoint, you're going to use things off the insert ribbon, text box, picture, table, shape. And in Publisher, they do have guides to assist with layout. So we'll look at that one. And just like PowerPoint, Publisher files can be dragged into an open PDF, and it will automatically convert and pop them right into the spot that you have let go. So again, you know, you're working on that Publisher file, or you've chosen to use Publisher to create your D2 supporting materials. You don't have to convert that Publisher file. You can just drag that Publisher file over into your open PDF and let go, and those Publisher files will be converted and inserted into your PDF. This saves you time in that you're not converting and then you're going over into Acrobat and merging, etc. So you're saving a lot of time by just doing the drag and drop. Okay? Publisher page setup, just to check it and know that it's all good. On the page design tab on your ribbon, orientation should be set to portrait, size should be letter, and margins, I said, could be what you want, but they actually do need to be an inch and a half. On the supporting materials, you could skirt around the other borders for an inch, you know, because things are pictures, but you definitely want to maintain that inch and a half on the left, because it very well would punch a hole in a picture or something. But for text, you definitely want an inch all around the other sides. Okay, the insert ribbon. It's, like I said, it's very similar to the PowerPoint ribbon. Your text box, add text box anywhere on the slide, can have borders. Pictures, the picture button allows you to select your pictures for insert. Table, exact same thing, an easy way to insert a table on your Publisher template. Shapes, again, are arrows and boxes, same thing. And the Publisher guides, these guides are there, and if you look up here on the ribbon, it's under Page Design and then Guides. And these are just lines that are already predefined there, so if you drop something there, you can have a guideline that you can size it to. So these are some predefined. You can add create your own guidelines, and you can drag these guidelines, you know, to resize them. But this is kind of just a template for, you know, just to put things on and layouts and sizing and things. So those guides are there if you choose to go the Publisher route. As I've said, I'm a really big fan of that photo album. Publisher links, again, office.microsoft.com. And then you can go to Publisher Help and get some additional information there. Okay. Acrobat, and this is the one that probably most of you are worried with, but actually with drag and drop, there really is no need. We're going to look at converting Word, PowerPoint, Publisher, Excel to PDF using those native applications, meaning the Word, PowerPoint, Publisher. We'll look at inserting pages, moving pages, deleting pages, extracting pages, and scanning to PDF. We're going to look at creating a PDF from your clipboard. We're going to look at adding comments inside the PDF, creating bookmarks, which you would want to match your table of contents, merging multiple PDFs if you needed, page numbering the PDF, which is critical, and how to compress the final size of the PDF. Okay. So your required PDF files, and again, this is for your accepted, you'll have two PDF files, File 1 and File 2. For your dossier, I believe you'll just have the one. Actually, that's not been made clear to me. Marcy, will they merge all of their mini dossier into one PDF?
They'll actually change the original documents with the changes that are suggested from the mini dossier review and add the extra documents and then submit the way we described at the very beginning to where there's still two files submitted, and there's also online, and then there's also a creation of a disk, I believe, in the instructions with those two files. So it will follow the guidelines of the dossier submission.
So that's the mini dossier? So my question was, with the mini dossier, will they have one PDF file? So will these be in one PDF?
Oh, those particular, let me see, job description. No, they'll still submit two PDFs. One will be the cover page, the table of contents, and the VITA, and the job description. And the second file is the accomplishment text. I think, based on, right here. Okay, so file 1 and then file 2. Right, and they just will have pieces that might be missing in the file 2. So the file 2 will just be the accomplishment text, and the other pieces will be added later.
Right,
got it. Answer the question. Yeah, so they still submit two files for the mini.
Okay, so excellent. All right, so everybody, you will still have a file 1 and a file 2. It's just for the mini, you're not going to have the cover letter, the VITA, and for file 2, you're not going to have support material evaluation and forms. So you're still going to have two PDF files to submit for the mini dossier. So that's important to know. And as we've mentioned, you'll build on those two files. So now you've got those two files, file 1 and file 2, with the job description and your cover letter, your VITA and stuff. So now you're going to build on that for the accepted, and that's why we're wanting you to think forward with your supporting materials as you're going along and how you're going to manage working with these things. Okay, so back to where we are. Okay, so we're looking at required files. So for PDF, for your mini, you're still going to have file 1 and file 2. It's just going to be scaled down. So be sure to think of terms of those separate files and separate sections within those separate files. And we go back to saving folder structures and all those things. You get your mind broken down into sections and you store your data into sections, then it'll be easy to come into this PDF and pull together those PDF sections into one section for the file 1 and file 2. All right. So let's look at converting files using Microsoft Office. In here, it's really, really simple now with the Office 2010 suite. The only thing you need to do is when you go, you need to do a Save As. And then right here, you're going to change Save As Type. You're going to drop that down, and you're going to select PDF. And that's all there is to it. So there is no more printing. You don't have to. You can if you want. You don't have to print to the Acrobat Distiller. You can just save right within Word, do a Save As within PowerPoint, Save As PDF file, and it's now saved as a PDF. So if you want to convert files to PDF using Acrobat, okay, then you're going to choose the File menu, Create PDF from File. And then you're going to navigate to that file, and it would be a Word file, PowerPoint file, and you would open it, and it would convert it. And it would then want you to save it as PDF. So it would give it the same first name, and it would change it to .pdf. So that's how you do it within Acrobat. But to me, it's much easier to do it within that native application. Just do a File, Save As, and it's done. Now, I've mentioned the Pages view, okay? And this is critical with Acrobat. This is what allows you to really work with your individual pages easily. And you can expand this where my scroll bar is right here. You can expand this out so you could actually see 2 or 3 rows of pages at a time. I'm just viewing a single row right here, but you can view multiple pages, columns at a time. So to get the pages view, right here, there's an arrow. So if you don't see it, it's going to be collapsed, and it's going to look like these icons right over here. It's just going to be an icon. So you click that, and it expands pages out. And so now you can see the number of pages, in your actual PDF, and you can do things with them, okay? So that's the first thing. Whenever you go to Acrobat, you need to be in Pages View. That's going to be a critical point for you moving forward and doing drag and drops and things, okay? So now that you're in Pages View, we're going to look at, you can drag and drop, as I've said this many times, any Microsoft Office file that is closed, that's critical, to an open, and that's critical, PDF file. And the file will be converted and inserted wherever you drop it. So here's an example. I have this document over here on the right here, creating a bootable floppy disk. So what I did is I highlight and I left mouse click and I drug that little guy over. Okay, notice word icon and blue bar where item will be placed. You see my little word icon right there. You see the little blue bar right there. That, if I drop that, it's going to insert it between page 23 and 24. So that's as hard as it is. That's it. So now so again, we go back to our sections. If I have a section called, D2 Child Wellness, and I'm working on my section D2 PDF, and that child wellness information needs to go in between slides 23 and 24, I've created it in PowerPoint. I used my photo album, and I pulled in all my JPEGs and used my photo album, and I named my photo album childwellness.ppt. I drag that PowerPoint slide right over here, or presentation right over here to my open PDF, and I let go, and it will insert those pages right there. So there's no more converting and merging and, extracting, and you create it and you drag it over where you want it. So let's look here. So inserting pages from open PDF files. So let's say you're copying pages from one PDF to another without using the insert function. So we're going back to drag and drop. So you're going to have both PDF files open. Ideally, you can see both files pages view, right? And I'm going back to this. This is pages view. So we're going to have those in the pages view. Whoops. And you're going to select those pages. Even if they're not pages one beside each other, you can select individual pages. Hold the control key down. You'll select the pages you want to copy. You will drag the pages to the location you want them to reside in the destination PDF. So if you've created your D2 PDF for your child wellness section, if you already converted it to PDF, you can drag that right over. You can open it up and drag certain pages. So that's all there is to it, is to get pages from one PDF to another PDF. Okay. So I have 2 PDFs here. And I want, on the right here, I've got this page right here that I want a copy of over here on my document on the left. So all I have to do is highlight, like I've done. I've selected it, so it's blue, so it's selected. And again, I click and drag it, and I drop it right there, and it inserts it for me automatically. So that's as tough as that is. That's drag and drop. Now, let's say you're not comfortable dragging and dropping. You can do insert pages from the File menu. So if you want to insert pages from File menu, open the PDF that you want to insert pages into. You're going to select Document from the menu. Then you're going to select Insert Pages and from File. Or there's another option in the Pages view, because see, we're in Pages view. There's this little drop-down button that looks like some little what do you call them? Wheels. Can't think of the right terminology. But you drop that down, and you're going to get this insert, extract, replace pages, crop pages. You automatically get that menu. So you can do insert from file from here without having to go through the whole menu option. It's just a little shortcut there. And so you would select the file, and then you would insert and select pages from there. So here we're selecting our file that we want to insert. And if you don't see the PDF, if you want to select the file and it's a Word file, then what you're going to need to do is change the file type to all files. Because right now you would see PDF and you want it to be Word. So you would change it to all file types, and that'll list every file in that folder. Then what you have to do is select the location for the files to be inserted. So if I wanted the file to be after slide 2, then I would choose after and then page 2 of 3. So if you wanted it before, you drop this down, you click before, and you could say before page 2 of 3. Again, it's doing the same thing as the drag and drop is, but you're having to go through and be specific here. So you're selecting these things, and then it will actually pop the page where you've chosen after page 2 of 3. So now I would have 4 pages, and it would be the third page of those 4 pages. So that's inserting pages from the file menu, whereas you've got the drag and drop. So you can see how much easier using drag and drop can be. So now let's say you've got a PDF, but your pages are out of order. What do? Well, you can move your pages within Acrobat. Again, you have to be in the Pages view. So you highlight the page that you want, and I want to drag page 5 down here. Notice that blue bar? I click and drag, and I move it up here between page 2 and 3, and I let go, and now page 5 is between page 2 and 3 and becomes page 3. So you can easily move pages around inside that document. Okay? So inserting pages from file using the menu. When we're doing the insertion with looking at Pages view, you highlight the 2 files and drag them over and just drop them. And this is what it would look at. On the left was before I inserted, so I had 3 pages. And now after I've inserted those pages on the right, I now have 5 pages. And again, it's, you can drag and drop so much easier than file, insert, etc., etc. How about delete? You only have 1 page in the PDF that you need to get rid of. Highlight the page. If you have more than one, use your Control key to select multiple. Press your Delete key and confirm the deletion right here. And that's it. That's to delete the page. What if you need to extract the page from a PDF, but you don't want to delete it? Okay. If you want to keep the page in the current PDF, but you want a separate PDF of those files, then you would extract only. Because it will take a copy of that file, it will leave it in the PDF, and it will pull out a copy and make a separate PDF of it. That's extract only. If you actually want to delete the file from your current PDF, but you want to keep the page or pages as a separate PDF, then you're going to extract to file and delete the pages after extracting. Okay, so that's a way to get, if for some reason you have a PDF that you have a page or pages in there that you need to have a separate copy of, then you can use extract. And if you don't want it to live in that current PDF anymore, then you can use extract and delete after extract. But if you forgot to delete after extract, you could just highlight them and hit your delete key. So you've extracted them and you're like, oh no, I forgot to delete them. Just hit your delete key and it'll delete them out. Okay, so here, come on, page. There we go. So here from extract, and I'm using the little wrench wheels here on my pages view. That gives me my little shortcut menu here. So I click extract pages, and then you're going to select the pages that you want to extract. And then you will get a box that says you want to extract from page 2 to 2. So I've only chosen one page. And I want to delete the page after extracting, and I want to extract the page as a separate file. So it's going to be removed from my current, and I'm going to create a new one with that new extracted file. You may have an instance where you need to do that, but this is just so you know it's possible and it can be done. When you choose to extract the file, you're going to receive the box so you can choose the new location or the location for the new PDF. So you've chosen to save it to file. So now Acrobat needs to know, where do you want me to save it? And so that's what it's asking you there. Okay, let's look at Acrobat and scanning. And again, the recommended scan settings for black and white text and white line art is 300 dpi. Pictures or grayscale is 150 dpi. So scanning with Acrobat, you scan files into PDF and save. Then you can use the drag and drop method to copy pages to another PDF. Do not scan items to PDF that will need resized or manipulated. Once scan is complete, it will open the PDF as untitled PDF. And, depending on what you're scanning, it may have to be rotated, the page, to show the image correctly, which is, again, with regards to images and things you're going to use for supporting materials, we recommend scanning them in as JPEG outside of Acrobat. Okay. So to configure the scanning presets in Acrobat, you're going to click, the simplest way is click the Create button on your menu, PDF from Scanner, and then what we're going to do here, if you're going to scan a bunch of stuff, you might want to go ahead and configure the presets. So configuring the presets, it's going to pick up the scanner that you have, and then this preset is like for color images. So then down here in the color mode and the resolution is where I change it to 150 dpi, and paper size, change it to letter. So that way, if by chance you needed to have that scan as a whole page, it will be the proper scale. And then prompt for scanning more pages if you're going to do multiple. If you're scanning one thing, I wouldn't bother with a preset. I would go into custom scan. So I would do presets if you're going to scan multiple things at a time. Okay? And so you would do once you finish this, you click, save and OK, and then it's going to save that preset for the color. So you could do another one for black and white document and change that to 300 dpi and save that, and that preset would then be scanning at 300 dpi for black and white. Okay? Scanning using custom, like I said, if you're only scanning one thing, then you might need to use custom scan. And you would come in here and change it, color mode, black and white, and change it to DPI 300. And then this is, things here you could change. Append to an existing file or portfolio. So if you had a PDF open, you could, or a PDF that you needed to have it added to, you could choose it from this box here. Or if you wanted it to create a new PDF, you tell it to create a new. Once you've done that, you hit scan, and it will scan the file, and you will, then have the file to manipulate. Acrobat scanning to PDF. So once you, to actually scan, you've done the presets, you click the Create button, again, File from PDF, and then just choose black and white, gray, color, and then it's going to ask you scan complete or scan more pages. And again, this is through Acrobat. Adobe Acrobat. Create a PDF from clipboard. Now this is very cool. Let's say you have a file that, you only need a portion of that file, like the text, a couple paragraphs of it, or you need a picture from it or whatever. and you copy that. You highlight and copy that. That gets placed on your Windows clipboard, okay? So Acrobat is working with the Windows clipboard here. So as I say here, highlight and copy the information from a file. It could be a Word file, it could be PowerPoint, it could be a JPEG. Once you've copied it, you'll then open Acrobat and select Create button and then PDF from Clipboard. And this is going to create a new untitled PDF file that you'll save. And then once you've done that, you can use the drag and drop method to drag it over to your appropriate PDF file that you're working with. So, you've got this, documentation that has a bunch of stuff in there, but you only need this one little section out of it. You highlight and copy that section. Then you come into Acrobat and you choose the Create PDF from Clipboard. Boom, you now have a PDF of that little section versus having to open that file and try to edit and pull out the other stuff and then save that as a PDF, etc. Copy it as a clipboard item, go over into Acrobat, and then choose to create PDF from Clipboard. Once you do that, you're going to get this bar here. It's going to say, starting the application which created the selected document, please wait, and it'll do its little conversion, and then the next thing you'll see is the PDF they are converted. Okay. Comments in the PDF. You can add comments to your PDF. Generally, it looks like Jeff Buckley's. If you think about that one, it had the yellow boxes, and you can type text in there, and those are comments. But we really, really, really recommend that you do all your comments and text boxes in PowerPoint or Publisher. As we said earlier, we want you to think of Acrobat as a printer, not as a place to edit. So your numbers that are going to have to go on your supporting materials, those types of things, any text boxes, create those items in the PowerPoint or in the Publisher file, and then, those will be pulled over and converted. If for some reason at the last minute you've got to add some kind of text or something, then definitely use the comment box in PDF and, have that available. Okay, bookmarks. We're going to look at bookmarks for the next few slides here. Hopefully everybody's, has at some point in time experienced a PDF file that has bookmarks that you could easily, use on the left-hand side and click it, and it jumps to the section in the PDF that you want to go to. That's what your bookmarks are. And when your PDF file is, those two files, it will be very, very easy for the reviewers of these files if they have the bookmarks, and they can quickly jump to your, E section for your evaluation information, or, the C section job description. If those have bookmarks, they can easily jump to those bookmarks. So, as we've said before with table of contents and bookmarks, you should align them with your sections. So, your D1 accomplishment text section, again, is going to have many sub items there for each different accomplishment you're highlighting. So, create those table of contents based on the sections, and then your bookmarks can be based on the table of contents. To do a bookmark, what you're going to do is you're going to select the page in your Pages view again, very important, where you want the bookmark to go. And you notice in my little picture here on the left, I've highlighted this page. So I want the bookmark before, or to take me to that page when I click it. So in Pages view, you click the bookmarks icon to expand, and it's the icon just below your Pages icon. And then you are now in the bookmarks view. So what you'll do is, with that page highlighted, you click Create New Bookmark Icon, and it's the little one here with the gold on it. You're going to name the bookmark to correlate with your table of contents. So if that were, D1 section header, you would say accomplishment text. And then underneath there, you would nest bookmarks for those specific accomplishments. So here we name the bookmark to correlate with the table of contents, And then you can drag the bookmarks. That's something, once you create your bookmarks, if they're out of order, you can drag the bookmarks to be in the right order. And once you've created a bookmark, you see here table of contents, section A cover letter, section B Vita. You can do a couple things. You can go back and rename it. You can go back and set the destination if that page has changed. You can change what actions occur when the bookmark is clicked, but that's a little more high-end. You guys just want it to go to the page right now. And you can delete the bookmark. Okay. And then to nest. So we've got this D2 section, right? And this is my example. Please don't think this is correct. Don't follow me here. I'm only showing you how to create the bookmarks. I did this here, and I don't know how they would actually want you labeled. But you're going to nest your bookmarks. So for the D2 section, as I said, if you're highlighting specific accomplishments, then your D2 section, accomplishments supporting materials, would have sub or nested bookmarks. So here, and I'm pulling a little information from Jeff Buckley's, but he had D2H, excuse me, increasing organizational capacity of 4H, etc. These need to be sub bookmarks under section D2. So what I'm trying to show you here is that I've highlighted these. I have then held my left mouse button and I've dragged them up to under till I see this black line under section D2, and then what I do is I drag it just slightly upward and it will indent it. So then it'll look like this. And what you'll see is this little arrow here, right here, it moves inward. When you drag it up slightly, it moves inward and shows that it's then become nested under D2. So then it looks like that. And isn't that lovely? So if they look and they want to go to D2 section accomplishment supporting materials, they click D2 section and then, or expand this by clicking the little plus sign right there. They expand it out and they can quickly click the D2B and read about providing relevant, accessible global learning opportunities. So that's what the bookmarks will do and allow, because here we've got Dossier on this left side. That's collapsed. Once I click that plus sign right there, then that's going to expand it, and then all this information tables out. And the reviewer can easily click, they want to go to table of contents, they want to go to your Vita. They can easily go to those things. So to me, it's if you're going to use the bookmarks, it's pretty important to have the bookmarks panel displayed automatically. So they'll know there are bookmarks there that they can fully utilize. So to display the bookmarks panel automatically, you select File and Properties. Then under Properties, you're going to click Initial View tab right there. Then you're going to click the Navigation tab, drop-down arrow. So that's that right there. Then you're going to select the Bookmarks panel and Page. And then when PDF is open, the Bookmarks panel will automatically open. So what it's saying is when someone opens the PDF, the Navigation tab is going to open automatically the Bookmarks panel and the first page. Because right here with page only, that's just the page of the actual file. So you can change how your PDF opens up. Okay? So that's bookmarks. All right, we're going to look at merging PDFs using the File menu. But again, this is so that you'll know it's very possible this way as well as the drag and drop. Okay? So when you want to merge using the menu options, the simplest way to me is to click this Combine button. You can obviously go through the File menu, but you've got the Combine button right there. Merge files into a single PDF. Then you have an option here. The files can be closed or open. So if you have open files, then you would select Add Open Files. Obviously if there was, a file that you wanted to navigate to, you'd click Add File there. If you had a folder that had many files in it, like we talked about grouping your stuff all together, you could select a folder and it'll pull all the items in that folder into the PDF. Okay? So once you've chosen your files, you then have an option to move those PDF documents up or down based on where you want those files inserted. So right here I have two files, but when I initially inserted it, it had it at the bottom. The 2012 standard equipment list was at the bottom. Well, I want that to be the first pages in my PDF document. So I clicked the Move Up button right down here at the bottom, and that moved it up to the top over here. So that allows you to move up and down. You also have the option to choose individual pages of a PDF document. So on this same merging screen where we've got our documents, if I only needed a couple pages of it, I could click this Choose Pages button down here in the middle, and it'll let me scroll through and select the pages of this 1 of 55 that I might want. So you can do it that way too. But again, to me, it's easier for me to have, the PDF open and another PDF open and choose those pages and drag them over to where I want. So that's where the drag and drop to me is simpler. You have the option to choose. So you definitely can do it this way. So then once you've chosen and you click that Combine button back here, down at the bottom, right down here, once you've chosen your pages, you'll come back to this screen and you'll click Combine. It will ask you what you want to name this newly combined files, and it defaults to Binder 1. So then you would just rename it to whatever it is you want to rename it to. And again, drag and drop. You must be in the Pages view. You can drag a closed PDF file into an open PDF file, and it will add the pages. And you can have two open PDF files and easily drag pages between the files using the Pages view. Okay? Numbering. Do not assign page numbers outside of Acrobat. So I know everybody likes to page number your documents like you're doing your Vita, and you might put page numbers at the bottom. But the problem is, when you convert that file to PDF and those page numbers are still, you've got that header footers active in your Word document, those numbers are static. So when you convert it to PDF, you can't change the numbers. So that's why we recommend that you do not put page numbers on anything until you're ready to do your final PDF. And it's really, really simple too. And you can change the numbering. So we're going to go through this. So the page numbering in Acrobat is a header footer, just like with Word or Publisher or PowerPoint. You can add or delete pages from the file, but then all you need to do is go back to the page header footer and click an Update button. So that is a nice thing because you can add pages and then easily go back up there, hit Update, boom, your page numbers are right again. Key thing here, start page numbering after cover page, table of contents, and cover letter. And remember, this is your final PDF, 2 PDFs. So for the mini dossier, I would venture to guess that you wouldn't number your table of contents there either, or your cover page. So for the mini dossier, I would leave those two out of the numbering sequence, and you would start with your Vita. Job description, accomplishment text would all be, your numbers would start there. Okay? So how do we number in Acrobat? So we select Document, Header and Footer, and we click Add. So then this big box comes up, and there's a nice little button here. It says Insert Page Number. So what you want to do is you want to click where you want your page number. If you want it left footer, you would click over here. If you want it center, here, right here. So we're going to put it in the center, and then you click Insert Page Numbers. And then, because we want our page numbers to start after those items, and with your mini dossier to be your cover page and table of contents, so you would click Page Range Options, and you want the page numbers to start on X page. So if your your cover page is 1 and your table of contents is 1, then you'd want the page numbering to start on page 3. Okay? So you'll click page range options and put that number in there. And then you'll click OK. So now you've added pages, right? And now your numbering's out of whack. And you've added a page between page 2 and 3, and it doesn't have a number. So what you have to do is you just go back into Document, Header and Footer, Update. And if you notice here, it's going to tell you how many pages there are in that document. And then when you hit Update, that's going to update all your numberings. So something that's kind of confusing to some people about page numbers, okay? When we're in the Pages view, and again, if you look at me here in Pages view, I'm seeing 3 rows. So this is what I meant about you can expand your Pages view to have multiple. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, you know, so you can see many pages at one time, and that's convenient when you're doing the drag and dropping. That's very convenient. So when I'm looking in my Pages view, if I look at the numbers, it says that's 6. And up here on my bar, it says it's 6 of 24. But what you're really on is page number 4. So don't let that confuse you as you're working with your PDF. Do not rely on these numbers up here, right, to start looking at, oh, I need to go to page 4. Don't look up here and click and think you're on page 4, because you might be thinking the numbered page 4, which your numbered page 4 is really page 6. So I want to make sure you understand that distinction. Acrobat numbers these pages for its own purpose here, but the actual page numbering will be different and not correlate because we've chosen to start our numbers after our cover page, after our table of contents, and, you know, for the accepted dossier cover letter. So just make note of that when you're navigating around and you're looking for a specific numbered page. Do not go by Acrobat's numbering up here. You actually need to look for the page number on the actual page. Okay. Compressing files, which you have to do before your upload. What you're going to do is select Document, Menu, and then Reduce File Size. Then we're going to get these boxes. You must select what version of Acrobat will be able to view your PDF. And the committee is, or not committee, but it has been decided that Adobe 8.0 or later. So if you are not currently working with Adobe Acrobat 8.0, and I could say even 9, and you're wanting to go through this process, you need to get Acrobat 9 at least. It will make your life a lot easier. But for reviewing purposes, we have to have you select Acrobat 8.0 and later, okay? So you're going to select that, and you're going to click OK, or if you have multiple PDFs open, then you click Apply to multiple, and it will let you select how many, select the actual PDFs that you want to apply it to, okay? But that's the key thing. Just remember, in compressing, it has to be Acrobat 8.0 or later. Compressing multiple PDFs one at a time, this would be the multiple. So after you click the Apply to Multiple button, then you'll just come in and add your files. So those two, File 1 and File 2, you're getting ready to upload them. You open File 1, you come in here, you tell it to compress, you click Apply to Multiples, then you add your file number 2, and it will add the compression to both file number 1 and file 2, and you'll be ready for upload. All right. And Acrobat links, the only one that I have really that's available, Adobe, if you go out and just go to Help, you know, in your Acrobat application, then you can get some decent help from there. But they don't have a real clean site like office.microsoft.com does. But if you're interested, this bookmark here is about the bookmarks and creating bookmarks and nesting bookmarks. So that was one that definitely was out there. But for additional Acrobat stuff, you know, if you have, and I preface this by saying, do not wait till the last minute for these things. Because what chaos will happen. So if you need or have questions with Acrobat, then you can email me or you can email Marcy. But both of us are out of the office a lot, as you well know, especially with what I do. I'm out a fair bit. So if you're looking for assistance with Acrobat or any of this, you can feel free to email me. But if you're waiting until the last minute, you might be out of luck, because if I'm out in the county office, I can't really respond currently at that time. So we'll definitely want to help you. But a lot of this, we'll be referencing back to this training or looking up some help items. But hopefully we've given you the easy methods to get things accomplished here and given you some ideas of how to think about your materials, because your folder structure and having those things in an easily identifiable folder based on those sections can really smooth out your process here. Okay, so Acrobat, again, just, the help inside of Acrobat is decent, and you can go to the Adobe site and ask questions, but probably your best bet here is to just quiz me or, send an email to Marcy. So again, things to remember: organizing and structure your files and folders. Again, consider creating a working PDF for each section. And with the D2 and D1 section, you might have a working PDF for each accomplishment. You will have to make edits, so plan that strategy for scanning and organizing your stuff. Remember the drag and drop, and remember save as. So remember, when you're going to work on that accomplishment text, that job description, that vita, those things that you're going to go back and actually type and edit, etc., open that file, save as. Date that file so that you can go back to it if you by chance mess up your working file. Go back to that. So do save as. Know your scanner, your software, your PC before you're panicked. Think of Acrobat as a printer, not a place to edit, and use the help. All right, so now's the big question time. So Marcy, if you compiled questions, do we have many?
I actually did not see any, so we'll see what folks have to say. I will share, I put it in the chat, that there are some help links that were created at the Dossier page where you go to create your account to submit, and there's some links to some Acrobat help links, and they're sort of organized in a way that'll make sense to you. So now that you've seen what the possibilities are, hopefully these links will make more sense. So when it talks about bookmarks, you'll know what in the world they are and why they might be important. So do check out the help documentation available at the Dossier submission help page. And that help page is actually available whether you're logged in to the Dossier submission or not. It's a live link, and the information on those pages is available whether you're logged in or not.
Excellent. So do we have questions? From Raymond, if you want to upgrade to Acrobat 9, then there is, all of software is purchased through the University System of Georgia, and you can go to the site, and let me just make sure this is it, the USG, and I will, I can send that to you, that link to you, Raymond, easily. So I'll make a note of that, and I'll send that link. Does anybody else need that link? Heidi, okay. All right. I will send that link out to you, and what you do is, you can go through this process there. You basically order it online, and you could get the license, and you could contact your field support person once you have that license or proof of license, and they could probably remote to your machines and install that software. Could not see. And Tim, you couldn't see what we had on the screen? You could only hear me talking? Oh, that's too bad. But yes, the file is very big. It's a 6 meg file. So would you want it in PDF?
We'll post. Did they ask for the PowerPoint slide? I was typing.
Yeah,
so
they want the
we'll
PowerPoint.
post that. We'll post that online at the help documentation. When we post the archive of the session, a link to that. We sent out the handout materials, but of course that's kind of small. But we'll post the full PowerPoint so that you can download it and then do whatever you want with it.
Okay. So let's go back up here. How do you highlight a portion of a JPEG in PowerPoint? No, you'll need to open, if you only want a portion of a JPEG, my recommendation would be to, in the Microsoft Office suite, there's the Microsoft Picture Manager. So I would recommend opening that JPEG in your Microsoft Office Picture Manager and then crop it to what you want and save it, and then pull that into PowerPoint. You're not going to be able to take a JPEG, and I'm not, maybe there is a way you can, but that would be my recommended way, is if you have items that you actually need to crop out other stuff, scan it in as a JPEG, open it in Microsoft Picture Manager, and use the cropping tool in there to crop that out. Okay, another question, if you have supporting material in PPP, how do you know if the DPI number is correct? When you scan it is when you're going to associate the DPI number. So if you're scanning using your own scanner and not going through Acrobat, then you probably have scanning software associated with that scanner, and you will change the DPI on that scanner, not in PowerPoint. PowerPoint will just pull in the JPEG. So you should have already changed the DPI on the scanning software somewhere. Hope that answers that. Angela says, is there a limit on pages for your Vita? Marcy, do you know the answer to that?
On that question, we'd refer you back to the Dossier guidelines, and there is no page limitation on Vita. It goes back to the size of the notebook. That is the limiting factor. So when it's actually printed and then put into that notebook. And next week's session should talk more on that particular topic. And I did want to share, someone asked about the JPEG in PowerPoint. If you get it into PowerPoint and you realize there's just a sliver or a little bit that you want to crop off, the best thing is to get it as close to possible as you can, but you can actually crop a picture once it is in PowerPoint. So if it's close, and then once you get it in there you realize you left a piece hanging off that you need to get rid of, it is possible to edit that in PowerPoint.
Excellent. And he also has an addendum to that. I think he wants to say there's a reference to a name in that JPEG and you highlight it I'd have to open my PowerPoint here. Let me go back to that. Let me pull something up. And I'm actually testing this right now. So while I'm looking at that. Oh, the answer to Roxy's question is, I'll bet there'd be a secretary or two out there that would take some payment for her to do it. Let's see. You could...
If you wanted to highlight in PowerPoint and you've gotten it in there, because you can highlight something, and what you do is you would create a text box and you'd make the color yellow, and then you'd make it almost transparent, and then you'd put that text box on top of whatever you wanted to highlight. And that's why it's easier to do. That's a piece that's actually easier to do in some of the other programs. But if it's a JPEG, so it's a picture of a letter, so it's not the real letter, it's a picture of a letter, and you want to highlight the person's name who signed it, that's one way you can go about doing that. You actually just put a text box on top of it, remove the text box outer line, which the word's not coming to me right now, and then make the fill yellow border. And make it transparent. Yeah, the border, that word.
The border, yeah. And that, let's see, did I have my example? When I was showing the example for Joanne Millams, and she had some highlights on there, that's, what she did is she did a little text box, and I think she probably did it in Publisher even, but she did a little text box over it, and then like Marcy said, she colored it a pale yellow, and then that, allowed her to show the text through it. Let me see, that's slide 27. Let me just show you. It allowed her to show the text through it, but yet she has a nice border here. And she even bordered the box with yellow and made that border for that box wider. So this is basically what she did here, is a text box over top of this content that she wanted to highlight on the JPEG. Perfect. All right. So did we get all of our questions?
An advantage of using Publisher is that you could then take that highlighted box, the other picture, and group them together so that when you decided you had to drag it around the page, it drags together. I don't believe you can do that in PowerPoint. Okay, so keep that in mind. If you start really doing lots of edits before you finish with all your highlights, group the things together that you don't want them to become disconnected.
Right, and that's exactly a good point. So like if I'm working in PowerPoint, what I do, and I did this with a lot of my slides here, I click each JPEG item that I have. So like for this slide right here, if I wanted to, I want to move my main box here, but these are arrows and things that I've put on here. So I click each one of these, and because I'm not in the mode, I can't show you, but I click each one of these with my control key down. Hold that control key down, click each little item that you've inserted, and then you right click, and there's an option to group. And you select group. And then when I want to move this box, my arrows, my text box, all that stays in place. So I've got one grouped item that I'm dragging around the screen. So like for here, with Joanne's example, if we did that, I would click each one of these items and group it. So then, I could move them around without losing my highlighted text box and things. Does that make sense? Okay. So, again, we will archive this. As Marcia said, we'll get the PowerPoint up there and things. And hopefully this will help you guys with your promotion process and getting promoted. So remember, think about that accepted. Don't just think in small terms about, ooh, I only have to have this right now, because they're tied together so closely that if you only focus on one, then it may create a lot more work for you when you go to work on that accepted one. All right? Well, if that's it, no questions after that, I think we'll close this shop down and get this guy archived and ready for you guys to view later. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to stop the archive. I want to thank everybody for your time. I hope it's been beneficial. I hope you've taken away at least one little nugget, even if it doesn't relate to your dossier. Maybe somewhere down the road with your job you'll remember, oh, hey, these bookmarks are really cool things for PDF, and oh, I could do photo albums. So hopefully you've gotten a little bit of something. Hope everyone has a great day, and good luck.